In this day and age where most people are looking for the fastest, quickest, cheapest way to learn to speak English, many of them even falling for these false promises like learn to speak English in 30 days or 90 days. The fastest way you are going to learn to speak English fluently is if you get what I'm about to tell you about in this video. The quality that made me a proficient English speaker despite having my insecurities back in my teens, despite being a Hungarian native speaker, and despite not always having access to high quality teaching all the time, my tolerance for discomfort. In 2024, where most of our societies are revolving around looking for comfort, staying in our comfort all the time, you always have two options. You either feel the discomfort now, feel frustrated about not making progress, confused about the grammar you're learning, scared of speaking English in a conversation, and do it anyway, so you build skills, you get more powerful, you gain confidence along the way. Or you can choose to avoid the discomfort, which is what most struggling English students do, not building the skills they need, like understanding fast English speakers, speaking English more fluently, or communicating more effectively, nor the confidence because they haven't built experience, and then end up living a more uncomfortable life. I think Alex Hormozi said something along the lines of, confidence is evidence that you've consistently put yourself in challenging situations that you've overcome. So if you desire to break through that plateau you might be experiencing right now about your fluency, so you can express yourself with a wider range of vocabulary using more complex structures, idioms to express yourself, and stop worrying about the mistakes you make or stop breaking up in the middle of a conversation. If you don't build tolerance for discomfort, which I see effective English communicators build, you're never going to make your dreams come true. But lucky for you, by the end of this video, you will understand why this is such a crucial skill every effective English communicator builds and continues to build, and what you can do and what you can focus on so you can see real progress with your fluency, your communication skills, and gain confidence in speaking English. And if you haven't yet, feel free to download my free ebook. It's about a 60-page ebook where I put down everything I learned about how to build confidence, so you can get a step-by-step method to understand how you can build confidence for yourself. Check out the first link in the description below. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chubby. I'm an English fluency, learning and language anxiety coach, and this is a channel for serious English learners, ambitious professionals, academics, business owners who want to increase their life opportunities, career opportunities by remembering vocabulary way more effectively and speaking English more freely, comfortably, and confidently by focusing on their listening skills and their spoken interaction. So if these are topics that you're into, you'd like to find out more about, and you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get all the updates I'm going to share with you, short, long form videos, posts as well, so you can achieve your goals and make your dreams come true. About 3 years ago, when I made the courageous decision and go to Cambodia, I shared this on my TikTok. Can I share my favorite quote of all time with you? And if you listen, it will hit, I promise. No one wants to tell us why discipline is so important. Discipline is one of the greatest forms of self-love. It's ignoring current pleasures for future rewards, and it's loving yourself enough to do what needs to be done in the pursuit of what was meant for you. Real learning actually happens when you feel challenged, when you feel a bit frustrated, feel a bit confused because you're about to learn something you didn't know before. I mean, would you just casually walk into the gym, work out for an hour 3 times a week without challenging your muscles and expect to grow muscles or a six-pack? Then why would it be different when you're challenging yourself when it comes to learning English? When you're feeling challenged, when you're feeling scared, confused, frustrated, that's when I say, if you focus on the right things that will help you improve your fluency, keep going, because that's your learning opportunity. Traditional English courses only teach grammar and vocabulary, but if you've seen my previous videos, you know that learning English is so much more than just grammar and vocabulary. A lot of struggling English students fail to reach fluency or the advanced level in their fluency, or even gain confidence in speaking English because these traditional courses never teach them the skills that effective English communicators use and develop so they can show up confidently in a conversation. And this is also the reason I never wanted to build my own vocabulary course or a grammar course. I prefer to build a program, a community that helps my students focus on what exactly they need to do to keep building their fluency and their confidence, because that's the reason they come to me for help with. Instead of inundating them or overwhelming them with a lot of grammar and vocabulary that then they don't know how to use because they don't understand the process of learning, I built a program, the Proficiency Fortress, that helps them build the skills that effective English communicators use to get one step closer to their English goals. Now, what are the most common problems people slide into my DMs with? Some people say that they forget vocabulary in the middle of a conversation. They might struggle to see progress with their fluency after studying for years and years and years, or they find it difficult to understand fast English speakers. Part of the answer to all of these problems is building the skill of tolerance for discomfort, because discomfort equals learning, which is what the rest of this video is going to be about. First of all, learning to speak English is going to be so much fun and so enjoyable the moment you stop expecting every single step of the way to be fun. Most struggling English students make this mistake that they expect every segment or every part of the learning process to be fun. And they get really nervous about making mistakes in a conversation, sometimes completely avoid having conversations because of their fear of mistakes or fear of judgment, and prefer to either scroll their phone, sometimes even for hours, hide behind videos or watching movies, but then not seeing results with their fluency, or studying grammar, memorizing vocabulary from their textbooks. Instead of focusing on what helped me build my fluency and my confidence in speaking English, actively learning, facing those challenges and rising up to those challenges, because they understand that when they feel a bit uncomfortable, they're actually learning. And don't get me wrong, like, learning to speak English is supposed to be a lot of fun. Speaking English, having conversations with other people where you can share your stories, talk about your perspectives, ask other people about their opinions, so you understand more about other people's cultures, is the most fun part of learning a language. And all I care about in my community, in any event, class I hold, trainings I give to my students, the materials I prepare for them, the trainings they have access to on their portal, is all about having fun. But let's not confuse having fun with happiness. And if you ask me, happiness as a business owner, an English coach, as somebody who's running a YouTube channel and a TikTok page, plus who's learned to speak English and 4 other languages fluently, is all about overcoming my challenges instead of staying in my fear and in my comfort, breaking through my insecurities instead of being a prisoner to them, so I can feel free to talk and have conversations without all that extra stress, and rising up to my challenges, not expecting to speak perfectly, but expecting to make time for practice, because I understand that's what's going to get me 1% closer to my goals with my fluency or my communication skills. Basically, enjoying the entire process of learning a language. Both of 2 of the most common reasons a lot of struggling English students forget vocabulary are down to their inability to face an uncomfortable situation. The most common reason is fear and stress, and I talk about this in a previous video I made, but in a nutshell, when you feel nervous, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real, like a shark or a lion about to attack you and kill you, and the perceived threat, like people are going to judge me, I'm going to embarrass myself, I'm going to make a mistake. So your brain will block your memory and you won't be able to remember most of the vocabulary. Even if you've studied them, even if you've seen them before, you know how to use them. So those people who stay nervous in a conversation because they worry about how other people judge them or about the mistakes they are about to make, which is completely natural in learning a second language, they're going to keep forgetting vocabulary. Their brain isn't going to help them access their memory because it wants them to leave that conversation because it sees it as a threat. And I totally get it. It can be super frustrating in the middle of a conversation, not remembering that vocabulary you know, you watched in a movie, you heard in a podcast, you took notes of, you might even remember the exact place you took notes about it. But the discomfort that you need to get used to is the fact that learning isn't just understanding a word in a movie, taking notes of it, and then expecting to remember it in a conversation. There are so many different stages that I teach my students. This is what we focus on in the majority of our classes that help you process that vocabulary and then get better at using that vocabulary in a conversation. Memorizing vocabulary using basic flashcards with translations or a list of vocabulary isn't going to work. It worked in school when you were using learning vocabulary to pass an exam or to pass a test for short-term memory, but have you seen anyone who learned to speak English really confidently because they went to school? Then why would you expect to learn vocabulary the same way and expect to remember it in a conversation if that didn't work back in school? For you to learn and remember vocabulary, many struggling English students don't realize this. You actually have to learn that vocabulary, forget it, and then recall it, and then forget it, and then recall it again, and then you're more likely to remember it. Because ultimately, from the neuroscience perspective, which is what my students get lots of trainings on so they can tap into the superpowers their brain has, so they can remember more vocabulary and then build the confidence they need to use it, is this continuous dance between forgetting, remembering, because we know that the brain learns through repetition. When it sees, hears, and then uses the vocabulary in context with attention, it's more likely to remember it in the long term and store it in the long-term memory. So if you want to remember a lot more vocabulary and express yourself with a wider range of vocabulary in your conversations, not struggling with forgetting half of them, focus on what effective English communicators learn to be super comfortable with, not understanding every single word 100% the first time or even the second time they see or hear it. Do you think when babies are listening to their parents talking to them about all kinds of stuff, understand every single word their parents are saying to them? Do you see them getting frustrated when they are watching their parents trying to listen to what they are saying but not understanding the words? The only reason you might get frustrated about not understanding vocabulary is because you think that not understanding vocabulary is somehow a sign that you are stupid, that you don't feel safe, because the only way for you to feel safe is if you understand every single word. But you are reading text, you're watching a movie, you're listening to a podcast, you are safe, even if you don't understand all the vocabulary. Just like babies, the more times my students see and hear the vocabulary, which we focus on in our classes, and then start using that vocabulary to get better at expressing themselves in our speaking trainings, at speaking booster classes, and then communicating with them in our conversation classes. This way, just like babies, when my students see, hear, and then use the vocabulary that they focus on in our classes, over and over again, they get more information about how that vocabulary is used, and when they know how to use vocabulary, they're more likely to be able to use it with more confidence. Again, this is a process. And the second thing which saves them a lot of stress is that they don't worry about forgetting vocabulary. There are so many different factors that can influence how well we remember vocabulary. There are certain things we can always do, like relevance, focus, attention, sleeping, eating well. It's not a sign of their stupidity or their lack of intelligence. It's just simply a sign that they may not have seen, heard, or used that vocabulary enough for it to become automatic. That's why they can't automatically access it yet. They look at it as a sign that they can go back, keep reviewing that vocabulary, think about all kinds of different ways they could use it, and then have a better chance to remember it the next time they need it. Whenever I was struggling to either understand vocabulary from a movie I was watching or having a conversation with someone as a Hungarian native speaker, you can imagine it's a completely different language. We don't even have prepositions. We have completely different sounds, one present and one past, nothing else. I just told myself that in order for me to feel comfortable and safe, I need to push through this discomfort. And you're going to make a lot more progress with your fluency if you understand that the whole point of stepping outside that comfort zone is to stay there for a bit, stay in that unfamiliar place, which is not scary, it's just unfamiliar, so you can show your brain this is safe and make that your comfort zone. My students are able to build confidence in our community, not just because they build this tolerance for discomfort and they know the long-term benefits of being in that discomfort, but also because they know the 3 other elements of building confidence. Practicing in a safe space, especially if you struggle to take courage. All you really need is a space where no one judges you, no one criticizes you for mispronouncing a word or makes fun of you because you've made a mistake. My biggest realization when I changed my circle of friends, or when I joined an English course where I could start focusing on breaking through my insecurities, which I talk a bit about in this video as well, was that not everybody is going to judge you. The reason you might still be scared of judgment is because that's your experience in the past. You might have been judged about something, you might not even remember about what, many years ago. You might even be judged right now about the way you speak, the mistakes you might make by a family member or a friend, but that doesn't mean that other people would judge you the same way as well. When you make sure that the people around you are high quality people who are there to support you, encourage you, inspire you to keep going, keep taking courage, and provide you with that safe space where you can be yourself, you can make mistakes without the fear of being judged, you are going to be able to open up 100% more. Now, they also focus on optimizing the difficulty of the conversations they are having, which is something I dedicated an entire video to. Because do you see a 5-year-old kid using idioms or feeling under pressure because they cannot use the most complex grammar structures, like they cannot say a third conditional sentence when they are talking to their friends? Would you expect a 7-year-old learning to speak their native language, still at that stage, talk about global warming with their friends? Then why would you expect to speak English perfectly about a topic you've probably never practiced yet? You might not have enough vocabulary yet, or you haven't reached that level of fluency yet. Instead of focusing on what actually helps my students build their confidence, which is using the vocabulary and the grammar they already know, starting where they are, and maybe challenging themselves by talking about something that's just a bit above their level, so they can do it and then gradually build their confidence. Now, before you go, as a reward for your attention, let's talk about the last piece of the puzzle that contributes to confidence, which a lot of struggling English students forget to develop, which is consistency. I've myself become a master of it, and I'm going to be shameless about it, because if you understand that consistency is the language to the brain that this is something I'm taking seriously, and if you see how everything that you do consistently helps you create the results that you are so worried about not getting, you will never ignore the importance of consistency. Consistency is simply creating a system of habits based on your term. This is something my students get a lot of support with in our coaching program, that will make sure as you build that consistency around those habits that you make time for what actually matters, that helps you build your fluency and your confidence. And whether it's 10 minutes a day of reviewing vocabulary, spending 30 minutes watching a video, or 10 minutes taking off the subtitles so you can start focusing on learning through listening, or having 3 conversations a week. That all depends on your lifestyle and your goals. And consistency is only difficult if you don't understand how habits work, which is again something you can find another video about. When in the beginning, like in the first few weeks, as that habit is still not part of your daily routine, you still need to keep making the decision, making time for whatever you decided to build a habit around. Put in the effort over a few weeks without seeing the results. Something that helps me loads with building or maintaining a habit, whether it's about learning a new language or about my business, is my self-integrity. When I know I made a promise to myself that I'm going to build a habit or maintain a habit, I'm not going to break my promises to myself, which is again something I see a lot of people don't focus on. And you might find a video about how to focus on building self-integrity with yourself in the next couple of weeks. It's the same thing as you wouldn't expect to build a 6-pack within the first 2 weeks of working out in the gym, even if you do it every single day. What if all you had to do was believe what effective English communicators believe, which is that with effort and consistency, you are going to see results, and you don't need to worry about results right now. This is something the world, the corporate world, school kind of taught you to always look for results in everything, but in real life, anything that you got results from in the past was because you didn't expect that result. you just kept going, wasn't it? Instead of celebrating only when you get the results, try to focus on what I teach my students to celebrate, which is simply showing up, using the grammar and vocabulary you already have, because you believe that with practice and consistently challenging yourself, you are going to build that confidence. Every time you take the courage and make mistakes, having a conversation at your level, you know that you will make fewer and fewer mistakes because you get the feedback on what not to say again. And every time you still speak, despite struggling to construct a sentence or keep forgetting some words, you will get better and better and better at speaking automatically without always thinking. If you really want to earn money, get that promotion, move to your dream country, or just simply get more comfortable about speaking English at work or in your real life, all you need to do is what I kept telling myself. In times I felt frustrated, uncomfortable, basically anytime I was struggling, my fluency is on the way. And with effort, consistency, focus, and patience, I'm getting one step closer to my goal with every action I take, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Whenever you're about to give up, you're doubting yourself before having a conversation, or you struggle to create that consistency that will get you the results, tell yourself, this is where most people give up. And I don't want to be most people, because most people are unsuccessful, sad, negative, and complaining all the time. What's your biggest challenge about learning to speak English? What is something you've already tried but feel like you haven't really been making progress with? Let me know in the comments also, what do you think about this entire video, your tolerance for discomfort, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon.